I'm here with one of Congress's most brilliant members, Thomas Massie of Kentucky. And Thomas, I know you don't like to talk about this too much, but where'd you go to school?
Yeah, a little trade school down the river from the art school in Massachusetts, MIT.
And though we've been colleagues and worked together on a number of issues, I recently learned about your academic record there. How many B's did you get at MIT?
I got 2.
What classes? This is the hard questions on Firebrand.
Okay. One was the intermediate microeconomics, and one was digital processing.
Any C's?
No.
So what was it like when you were there on the Oversight Committee questioning John Kerry, and he, instead of responding to specific scientific data points, said you were not a serious person, said that you lacked sort of an understanding of science and data. Did that strike you as a bit condescending, coming from, a politician who essentially married wealthy in order to get a claim that otherwise would never append a person like John Kerry?
You know what? I wasn't personally offended, but his opening statements, he said, when President Trump decides to listen to educated adults, then he might understand. And so that's when I looked into John Kerry's credentials and found out that he was indeed a scientist. He had a science degree. And so I asked him about it.
Isn't it true you have a science degree from Yale? What's that?
Bachelor of Arts degree.
Is it a political science degree?
Yes, political science.
So how do you get a Bachelor of Arts in a science?
Well, it's liberal arts education and degree. It's a bachelor.
Okay, so it's not really science. So I think it's somewhat appropriate that somebody with a pseudoscience degree is here pushing pseudoscience in front of our committee today.
Well, Thomas, I bring it up because it seems that the body doesn't always quite know how to deal with you, because you are a data-first person. You are on the front end of a lot of scientific issues that arise in the country. You served on the science committee where you focused on a lot of that stuff. And when COVID really started to become central to American consciousness, I remember very early you were one of the first to seek out an antibodies test because
Yes.
you wanted the data as to your own person
Right.
and your own health. Do you mind sharing sort of how you made that decision and how you've lived as a consequence of that result?
Oh, sure. Well, first of all, I ask people who get the vaccine because they want to save grandma and, stop the spread of the disease. Did you go get an antibody test after you got the vaccine? Like, if you're relying on this to save people's lives, did you spend the other $50 to see if it worked? Mm-hmm. And of course, almost nobody does that. But I had an antibody test 18 months ago that came back positive with high levels of antibodies. And so I've been interested personally as to whether the vaccine improves on that immunity and how durable and long lasting is that immunity. And so when the vaccines were first approved, and then by the FDA, and then the CDC published a short little blurb, I noticed there was a typo in there. Of course, I characterized it as a typo. This is December of last year. We're a year later. And they said that the vaccine was 92% efficacious for those with evidence of prior infection. And whoa, that's a pretty tall claim. Let me go look at the data. And I looked at the data and it showed that it was minus 7% efficacious for those.
And where did you find that data?
From the FDA.
Not some private group,
No.
not some obscure website, but from the federal government's own collected data.
Yes, it's still there. The data's still there. You can go see. The remarkable thing is they really didn't have much data. There were 1,200 or 1,300 of the 30,000 who participated who had evidence of prior infection. And so they split almost evenly, showing that the vaccine really didn't have much of an effect at all for those people. And so I called up the CDC, the director here in Washington, D.C., and I said, I think I found a typo. I didn't say you all are lying SOBs. And she said, let me get our top scientists on the line with us. And she came on the line and she said, we're going to start calling you Eagle Eye Massie. We went over this study, and we just never found this mistake, but it's right here in the thing. And I'm like, oh, so you'll fix it, right? Oh, yeah, don't worry. So by the way, I recorded 6 phone calls with the CDC because I anticipated this might happen.
The point of that sentence was to suggest that you don't need to test your antibodies before you get vaccinated.
Right.
it doesn't
It's in the
matter,
wash,
or
right?
yeah, it's a wash.
Yeah.
So, but we did. The word was taken out, and literally nobody had picked up on it, including us, when we read the version that was published. So,
Hopefully, I was somewhat helpful.
no, we really appreciate it. We know we can't be perfect. We know we're going to miss things. We're glad that this one, doesn't seem to be doing
Right.
anyone any harm.
Right.
But we were very. It gave us a smile that you found it. It was very, very impressive.
Yeah, it's interesting how recordings can be an instant cure to selective amnesia
Yes.
in 100% of cases.
Right.